Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Freddie Monk, co-founder and CEO at Data. Freddie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ben. Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Great to have you here. So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I guess full disclosure, I'm kind of relatively new to SaaS, as we'll see. So my journey prior to founding Data was I was a strategy consultant at EY in London. So doing all sorts of commercial DD and deals and strategic consulting for sort of big FTSE companies. And then after kind of 4.5 years of backbreaking and kind of thankless work, I need to do something more impactful. So I moved my life to Ghana, of all places. And we can talk about why that was, if that's of interest, but kind of through circumstance and also the opportunity here. Um, and in Ghana, I worked for kind of a conglomerate of companies before running their finance function for businesses across West Africa. And then I started Data about 3 years ago now with a Ghanaian friend of mine and our previous boss. So that's a little bit about my experience. And I can kind of give you a bit of background to Data as well. Would that be good? No?
Yeah, we'll talk about I in a second. But did you have the idea before you moved to Ghana, or was it while working in Ghana that you came up with the idea for Data?
Yeah, very much the latter, I think. So I had no idea what to expect of Ghana. I knew that it would be an adventure. I knew that I was going to be doing something socially impactful, which is really important to me. And I was going to be getting, my hands a bit dirty in terms of operations and really seeing projects through to completion, which I think is the bane of many a consultant. You write these beautiful white papers, whether it's on decommissioning nuclear power plants, which is what I used to work on for a long time, or whatever else it is, and you like product market strategy, but you never actually know if that paper gets read or deployed. So yeah, I came to Ghana, with no real expectations about what I was going to do, other than I was really excited to work for this company called Demeter. And then as soon as I came to Ghana, I realized, and not as soon as I came really, I think, but I quickly realized that this is an amazing country with an amazing population of very talented entrepreneurial people. And there's a lot of opportunity to build businesses here. So I think when the chance came along with my co-founder, she's spent her career in banking in the UK, she's Ghanaian, she moved back to Ghana at the same time. She kind of had this idea to really, the germ of an idea to start Data. And we can go into
Yeah,
that if you go
you
forward.
appreciate the background. So yeah, let's perfect time. Tell us about the products and or services that Data offers.
Yeah, well, it was back to how it started as an idea. The idea was based on the fact that you have, an amazing amount of really high level junior talent. Ghana's, for those who don't know, it's kind of a small country. It's about 34 million people. It's in West Africa, so wedged between Cote d'Ivoire and Togo. And but it has 65 universities, and it's the Google Africa headquarters hub. It was the Twitter hub before Elon Musk cancelled any sort of initiatives that didn't serve his purpose. And so like a lot of technology, a lot of investment going in, really high skill base, but huge amounts of institutional voids that are kind of typical of lower middle income countries like Ghana, which means that it's not a very good job market. So we saw that basically there's loads of people who couldn't find jobs in Ghana and were then moving to big companies in UK, Europe, America. And so we decided, there must be a way we can set up a business that, serves both purposes. So you can create good jobs and also deliver global standard services. So we first looked at the AI value chain as a place to deploy those services. I'd had some, experience with AI at EY, and we saw that there was a really big opportunity in terms of, at the beginning, kind of doing some of the more basic things on the value chain. So collecting data, creating big training data sets, doing data annotation. And as the company evolved, we moved into higher skill things like doing data engineering for people, building models from scratch, deploying models into production. And so in doing that, we really became kind of a full service AI consultancy based in Ghana, although we have global employees focused on global demand for AI. This is all before GPT-3 where it really kicked off. And then we were like, right, wow, we were definitely onto something with this. And we now just need to find out where we fit. And I guess just to round that off, in the last, having started as this services business, in the last 18 months, we've been building our own platforms and products. And the flagship product, which I'll talk to you about today, is called iGrow. It's a precision agriculture platform and SaaS product. And it targets a global audience, but it's really also focused on the very underserved African countries that we work in as well.
Yeah, interesting. So started off like just all the talent in Ghana. So started off as a consulting services agency and now building your own platform. And so you mentioned, I don't know if you said precision ag or going after agriculture. So are you serving, is it agriculture? Are there other industries that you're serving with this new platform?
So the platform, there's kind of two SaaS products that we have actually. One of which is the agricultural platform. I think we'll spend most time talking about that today because it's more developed and maybe more relevant to our listeners. But then the other platform that we have is it's not so much a platform yet, but it's kind of like a collection of APIs which converts African language. It's like a full service African language speech solution. So like Alexa, but in local Ghanaian languages. And that allows telcos and banks and insurance companies to communicate with people who can't read or write in English or French or whatever it may be. And so that's kind of our third proposition. But in terms of the precision ag, yeah, it's essentially it's a platform that gives you tree level or plant level analytics using a mixture of remote sensing data, so satellites, drones, sensors, smartphones, plus custom AI models that we've developed to give amazing insights like, nutrient deficiency levels in your trees or plants. Where do you need to put fertilizer? How much fertilizer do you need to buy? Do you have a disease affecting this area of your farm, etc. So that's where we are. That's where we are now.
Yeah, really interesting. So going after the ag platform, maybe the most built out. So trees, plants, maybe farms. So who's your customer? Who are you reaching out to? What kind of prospect are you reaching out to sell your solution?
Yeah, I think there's probably a few different core revenue streams that we've identified and kind of customer segments that are really exciting. So the most developed for us is growers. So, big farms who spend millions of dollars a year on fertilizer and also have, sustainability credentials are important to them. So in order to be able to export and to sell into the markets they want to, they have to be sustainable and they have to have real transparency around their operations. So that's kind of our primary customer base. So we can go and deploy the solution that will not only save them a ton of money, give them loads of transparency whilst improving yields. It's also going to give, their customers, their clients, their stakeholders, a lot of assurance that they're doing things the correct way. So, it also helps you manage your teams. It helps you, drive efficiencies in your organization. A lot of my consulting skill set definitely coming through there. And then the second customer segment would be insurance companies and investment companies who really want to know, these are the farms that I'm investing in or insuring. What is actually going on in those farms? And we can provide that kind of level of detail. This is what the yield should be. It's affected by these diseases, but they're treating it in these ways. And then the third, given that we focus a lot on local markets, by local markets, I mean African countries, there's a big NGO kind of third sector presence who are also looking for transparency. They're delivering money into the system and investment, foreign direct investment. They want to make sure that that's being spent wisely and they want to track progress and, whatever KPIs they might have.
Okay, yeah, that's fascinating. So love that. And so let's talk some stats and figures here. So you said founded 3 years ago, so it would be about 2021 founded
Yeah,
Iadata. All right. And your location, so you're in Accra, Ghana, correct?
I am. Yeah, I spend most of my time here, but I do spend a bit of time in London as well.
Okay, and so the first founder that I've interviewed with headquarters or location in Ghana. So tell us, I'm really curious, what's the tech software scene like? You mentioned all the universities, top talent there. So what is the tech scene like?
I'd say the tech scene. So across the continent, there's probably three or four, maybe four really big markets. So sort of Egypt, South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria. Increasingly behind, you have Ghana and Rwanda, I'd say. And so in Ghana, whilst it's a small market, there's 34 million people, as I've said, a huge amount of innovation has already come out of Ghana. And it's typically, I guess, the sort of legacy successful venture business across the whole continent has been focused on payments. Without payments, you can't do anything. Africa is, really progressive in terms of payments. A lot of the payments here are done through telcos with mobile phones. So people don't have credit cards, but you can track all your payments with your mobile phone provider, and that provides a credit score, and you can borrow money based off that, and et cetera. And it's kind of cashless in lots of places in a weird way where it's not in a lot of Western markets. So payments is really developed. There's a lot of fantastic payments companies. And I'd say kind of the big verticals that are coming through in terms of tech now would be a lot of innovation in medical. It's another huge problem on the continent that needs to be sorted out and can be sorted out with good technology. AI has a huge role to play there in terms of digitizing data and allowing people to draw insights from data. What drugs that are developed by big pharma in the US actually work on populations in Ghana, which don't. There's a huge discrepancy in terms of those drugs were developed with data from Europeans and not with data from Ghanaians. So stuff like that's really, really fascinating to me. Education's another one. And increasingly I'm seeing like amazing companies. I was on a call today with a company who are building the biggest repository of African like video content. So it's like Netflix, but for African TV shows, and they've got lots of production deals. So they're creating content for people in Africa to kind of see themselves reflected in rather than what comes out of Hollywood.
Yeah,
So
really interesting. Yeah.
lots of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate that insight. Yeah, new world for me. So, and tell us for IA Data right now, what's your current team size?
So because we still do a lot of data annotation, and our model is to kind of try and find talented people from universities, and they join us in a really low skill role, which would be around collecting data or doing data curation or annotation. I can explain what annotation is if that's useful. So they start there, and then they move up into higher skill teams through sort of training and exposure. So we have a team of about over 100 people full time in Accra, with about sort of 60 people doing collection, annotation. And then, we have a data science and engineering team of about 11 or 12, including solutions, and then some managers as well.
Okay. Okay. So about 100 full time, but again, like you said, kind of have that services side, the agency plus the platform. And
Yeah.
anything you want to share around revenue or AR ranges 3 years in?
So I'd say between 500K and $1 million is
Okay.
what we'll hit this year, with an expectation to sort of double that next year, having just raised a funding round. So our growth has been quite solid. It was a slow start, and then it's kind of doubled every year.
Well, that's great. Yeah, can't complain with doubling your growth. So, and then with that growth, and now we'll talk about your capital raise in a second. So tell us, going after some maybe big clients, big farms. Tell us a little bit about your go-to-market motion, how you're finding your prospects.
Yeah. So particularly with the growers, and it's a novel technology here. So we have done some really exciting, awesome projects. One project with MIT, actually, amazing, sort of measuring methane and emissions from rice paddies in Africa. We've done some really cool projects in the UK as well with farmers and other companies. But I guess our sort of primary ICPs are the big growers in African markets, sort of local to us. And our go-to-market strategy, because it's a new technology, or at least people know about precision farming, but they probably don't know the ins and outs of how machine learning can unlock untold value. It's very much a show and tell. Like, it's a go to the farms, engage, understand the problems very deeply, and then do a demo for free. And a demo involves collecting data via drones or satellites, involves us going back and maybe doing a little bit of fine tuning of the model, hopefully not too much, and then presenting, the product with all of its amazing insights on maybe a section of a big farm, so 100 hectares out of 10,000. And then they kind of get excited. They're like, well, we need to roll this out, or, why can you add this feature? And we kind of scratch our heads and think, is that a good use of time or not? Do other people want this? It's just a perennial SaaS problem, I would imagine. But yeah, it's kind of like that. So we have a sales team set up locally, and we have a couple of global salespeople as well. We kind of do everything from prospecting to demos to closing deals.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So kind of like a high touch sales process just to really prove out the value. So I'm sure once they see that data, their eyes open up. And let's switch over to the fundraising side. Looks like you just raised a pre-seed round, 900K. And what was the currency for that round?
That's dollars.
Dollars. Okay, so 900K pre-seed round. And is that total capital raised to date now?
We've raised about 1.4 to date over the last 3 years, but kind of because of the services business is quite cash generative. We didn't know if we were going to raise and again until we kind of really got serious about rolling the SaaS product out at the beginning of this year. And so this year has been like, we need to get ready to raise, we need to go to market, we need to close the round in order to scale this because it's getting really good traction.
And so tell us, was there a trigger or milestone that you hit that led to that pre-seed round? Or give us a little insight onto the why of the raise.
I think, yeah, I think maybe this is common across what you've seen, but we basically had a few major validation milestones of, like impending, not product market fit. I wouldn't say that we've reached that at pre-seed level, but, a big company like Unilever and, purchasing the product and saying they really liked it and they wanted to roll it out. And then a few other sort of big major internationals having the same thing. So signing those big guys up was really important because, they can access technology from wherever in the world and they wanted to choose us. And then there was a big milestone around like validating to ourselves and to possible investors that the IP that we're building is protectable. Machine learning is a kind of different to software, I guess, in that you're not going to be able to patent any code probably because you're probably going to use an open source architecture to build your model on. But what you are going to be able to protect is A, the proprietary data set that you then go and annotate, and B, all of the fine tuning that you do on that model that's going to be driven by the expertise in your team. And then the way that you deploy that model in a data pipeline on the cloud or whatever it is, it's going to allow it to deliver results with a low inference cost and with low latency. And sort of altogether, that package needs to be complete for you to get, results ranging from whatever 50% accuracy to 99%. So that's kind of a difficult thing to explain to people who are not familiar with the space. So I think being able to do that and show it was really important to us and to investors. And then lastly, some big partnerships with academic institutions and NVIDIA as well have been really helpful to us, supporting us. And so that was the kind of third bit.
Yeah, and I love that because big vote of confidence, obviously, with Unilever signing up for your product, big global brand. But I like how you said, well, still maybe not product market fit yet, but they saw enough in your product that said, yes, yes, we will sign up for that and continue to work on product until you get the product market fit. So I really appreciate that insight. So at this stage, and with that raise and going through that process, seeing some of the signals, big brands buying your product, any lessons learned in that process you'd like to pass on to other founders who are thinking about that first raise?
Yeah, so I think I was kind of we'd raised a bit from angels before, but in terms of the VC world, the temptation was to outsource some of it, which I think was a mistake. So kind of the process of getting those first meetings is very linear and very easy once you understand it. It's like you have to do your prospecting in the right way. You create a huge list of VCs, you segment them, and then you find a way to get referrals. So you probably approach all their portfolio companies and say, will you introduce me to this like portfolio manager? And then you sort of work your way into the room with the more senior people. And I think like that process, once we understood it, got us in the room with lots of people. And then it's about fine tuning your messaging to hit the fundamentals of whatever the thesis is of the VC. I guess one thing that really surprised me was how much our data room was appreciated. And I maybe can drop a link, but I read an article from this company called V7 Labs who raised a $33 million Series A in the UK, building a data annotation platform, just as we were entering the down market. And they basically wrote an article on how to do that. And it's all centered around this incredible data room, which they give you templates for. And we sort of copied that. And every single investor who looked at us was like, your data room is incredibly clear. I don't really have any questions. Like the questions, are around sort of strategy and looking forward and focused on things like that. I think the last thing I'd probably say there is we did the temptation to oversell and to like fit your business proposition to what you imagine the thesis is of the VC is very strong when you first get in those first 2-3 calls. But eventually learn to resist that because you then just waste your own time because you get further down the pipe and then you're actually like, they're going to, we want our service as part of our business to still thrive, but they're only interested in the products. It's just actually not going to work. And so we ended up cutting conversations short in that sense, and knowing who to approach and being realistic was important.
Yeah, so finding that founder investor fit, and after the show, I'll get that link and I'll see if we put that in the show notes to share with the audience. So I appreciate that insight. So the temptation to outsource, but again, your data room was key. You can eliminate a lot of the upfront questions with clean data, clean financials, and then don't oversell. Find that founder investor fit. So Freddie, at this stage of the company, 3 years in, do you have a favorite number or metric that you're focused on to guide the business?
Uh, Not a hugely interesting one, I wouldn't think, because it's kind of so new, especially in the markets that we're operating in, although we have global clients as well, it's really about how many POCs we running and how many clients we signing up. So very, very standard. And actually, I'd say maybe one thing that we look at a bit closer than most companies is the length and the cost of different parts of our sales cycle. So, it could maybe because of B2B sales and it's a novel technology and we're typically dealing with big internationals and with these big farms, it's kind of a very slow process. And we're finding ways of speeding up all the different sections. So like making sure you can collect the data when you go and see them the first time and getting permission to do that. And so then you have the data, go and do the demo in the second meeting and like making sure really obvious stuff like pre-planning workloads with the team, depending on your BD cycle and who's going to go and see you. So things like that, I think we track very closely to try and slim down the sales cycle.
Well, fundamentals are fundamentals for a reason, so not boring at all. So I love that. And as we wrap up here, Freddie, what's coming up next for Aya Data?
Well, we're just getting started, I guess. It's our first bit of minor, but still substantial for us investment. And so, it's almost all going to go into scaling our SaaS products. We're built at the moment as we speak, building out our sales and marketing teams locally and in the key markets that we want to enter. And a lot of our focus has been on West Africa so far, but there's really big markets for the crops that we serve and focus on in different areas of the globe. So particularly Central and South America, we're big on bananas and also rubber. And so we're looking at different markets and how to enter. But yeah, just keep growing, keep building, and keep refining the product. At the end of the day, it's easy to sell something that people want to use. So
Yeah, exciting stuff, and look forward to your global expansion. Farming so important. So, Freddie, really appreciate your time sharing your journey, your experiences. If listeners would like to learn more about Aya Data, where should we send them online?
iadata.ai or our LinkedIn. So you can just LinkedIn iadata.
And that's
And yeah,
AYADATA.ai. So check out ayadata.ai to learn more. And again, Freddie, appreciate your time and sharing your journey.
thank you so much.